I'm still. I started recording. Hold on a second. Yes, you can go ahead, madam. You can start the class. Madam, you can start the class. Yes, madam. Go ahead. Start the class.
Good afternoon, all. And I am Dr. Shanmuga Vadivu, Associate Professor from Annapurna Medical College, Salem. And this is my first class. I will be discussing about a brief introduction, uh, morphology and physiology of bacteria. So here mostly I will be discussing as MCQs only, and it will be like initially in the introduction topics like MCQs will be more mainly based on the contributions of the scientist. So that will be only very few MCQs because I don't think you will be having any difficulty in reading about that. And morphology mainly all clinical based questions, case based questions, and I will be seeing different morphology. And in physiology of bacteria, we'll be seeing the growth curve, and then what are all the important components of the bacterial growth curve, and then oxygen, based on oxygen requirements, will be classifying bacteria as aerobic, anaerobic, so all those stuff. So mostly it will be MCQs only. Uh, so I'll go ahead with the first question. You are ready, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Here in this questions, you can see an image. So here in this image, you can see the red color structure. So identify, can you, are you able to identify that structure? And you have to find out, tell me who is the scientist who discovered that structure, bacterial, that structure of microscopic structure. Okay, are you able to identify that structure, red color?
Yes, ma'am. Bacteriophage.
Excellent. So who is the scientist who discovered bacteriophage?
Madam, voice is not heard.
Who is the scientist who
Madam,
discovered?
we are not able to hear the voice. Voice is getting disconnected in between.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you able to hear now? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. It's okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Voice is clear, ma'am.
So can you tell me, or I will go ahead with the answer? So this is,
Felix, option A.
yeah, excellent, excellent. That is the answer. And uh, and what about the other scientist mentioned in these question MCQs? Daniel Carrion, he discovered which pathogen? Just for completion's sake. I don't know how many questions they'll ask regarding the scientist contribution, but just anyways, you yourself can read it, memorize a couple of them so that when it is asked, you can answer. So carry on means carry on's disease. Anybody know what is carry on's disease? What is carry on's disease? Acha, carry-on, Daniel carry-on was discovered Bartonella. Okay. And Kitasato. Sorry. Kitasato discovered which pathogen? Are you able to hear me? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Kitasato, he contributed towards discovering of Yersinia pestis. Okay. And then W.H. Welch. You can answer that. Welch. Welch, it goes, one pathogen goes with that name, the scientist name. It's, shall I answer? There's Clostridium welchi or otherwise Clostridium perfringens. Okay. Shall I move to the next question? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here the question is, Louis Pasteur is not associated with pasteurization of milk, vaccine, option B, option C. Sorry, I have not mentioned A, B, C. Anyways, you can tell. The third one is sterilization method and discovery of Mycobacterium tuberculosis.
Vaccine.
So, which is the option, correct option?
Vaccine.
Louis Pasteur not associated with vaccine. He contributed towards most important vaccine.
Discovery of Mycobacterium tuberculosis.
Excellent. So, Mycobacterium tuberculosis was discovered by whom? Who is a scientist who contributed to this? Tuberculosis. Louis Pasteur has this contributed to many vaccines. Most important one is rabies vaccine. Okay, so Mycobacterium tuberculosis was discovered mainly by the important scientist Robert Koch. Okay, Robert Koch was the one who discovered Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So, shall I move to the next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so discovery of Mycobacterium tuberculosis is the choice. So, and question 3 is Pasteur is associated with all except, again here except, process of attenuation, anti-rabies vaccine, technique of sterilization, all forms of life arose from de novo, so which means spontaneous generation. So he is associated with all except, which is the choice? Shall I tell?
Process of attenuation.
No. He involved. He's in
All from
all forms of life. Yeah, he disproved that theory. That spontaneous degeneration theory, Louis Pasteur disproved. All the others, he only contributed. Okay, attenuation of vaccine he contributed, and many different techniques of sterilization like pasteurization. All those things was contributed by Pasteur. Okay. So the answer is all forms of life because de novo is the wrong. I mean, that is the one he did not. He is not associated with. So I'll go to the next question. About Robert Koch, all are true except. Again, this is an except question. So which choice? Introduced staining technique, discovered Mycobacterium leprae, formulated Cox postulate, identified culture media. Sorry, this is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. I mentioned it as leprae. I'll change the choice. It is tuberculosis.
Identified cultured media.
Yeah, who contributed that? Culture media was identified by, or discovered. Different types of bacterial culture media, cell-free culture media. It is by Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur is the one who contributed many culture media. First, he was the one who contributed liquid media, so where he cultivated yeast and showed that um, pathogens can be cultivated in cell-free. Okay. So this is the wrong choice. Shall I go to next question? Yeah. Again, acid fast stain was discovered by Ehrlich, Zeil Nielsen, Robert Koch, Hansen.
D. D. Gail Nielsen.
Actually, the first person to contribute was Zeil Nielsen. He made it as a modified acid fast technique. A modification of technique was done, but primarily acid fast stain was actually discovered by Ehrlich. So he is the one who contributed, and later he used alum hematoxylin stains, and later on only Zeil and Nielsen, they are two persons, they had modified the existing technique. So it is always called as modified acid fast staining or otherwise Zeil Nielsen technique. Okay. So modified acid fast staining only by Zeil Nielsen. Straight away, if it in that option Ehrlich is given, he is the one who contributed. Right? So I will go to next option. Here is the case-based question. A throat swab of 5-year-old boy with white patches on tonsils is taken. Smear. You can see a gram stain picture and a special stain. Okay. So the question is identify the pathogen and special stain. So option A is Bacillus subtilis and Mayfaden stain. Option B, Corynebacterium, diphtheria and Albert. C, Corynebacterium, diphtheria and Pondus. Fourth one is Clostridium tetani and Albert stain.
Cornemacum, diphtheria, and Albert. B.
Okay, excellent. Why not Pondus? Okay, that option is correct. It's Corynebacterium, diphtheria and Albert stain. It's a case of diphtheria. So because case very clearly points out a 5-year-old child with tonsillar patches, patchy tonsillitis. So, and you can see, can you describe the morphology? Can you appreciate the morphology in that stain?
Chinese letter pattern V and N.
Then what are these structures? I am marking, I am showing
HP bond.
Huh?
Polymetamorphic bond.
Yeah, metachromatic granules. They are otherwise this thing. So Albert stain, we use two types of stains, like one is toluidine blue and malachite green. Toluidine blue is taken up by the oleation granules, and the cytoplasm taken up by the malachite green is taken by the cytoplasm. Okay. So this is, you can appreciate V forms and L forms. So straight away a gram stain can help, and a special stain based on the clinical picture. If the laboratory is provided with the Albert stain, they can identify presumptively, and immediately the child can be treated with diphtheria antitoxin. Yeah, so it helps. And yeah, this is the answer. Correct. So here you can see Pondus stain. These are the other different stains, special stains which are used to demonstrate Corynebacterium diphtheria. But these stains are not routinely used in laboratory. But they are also special stains to identify Corynebacterium. Okay. So question number 7, again case-based question. Here a farmer with history of mild injury, his bull horn accidentally hit his thigh a couple of days before, and he attended the emergency OP with difficulty of breathing. And the wound was treated with local medicine. He did not go to the doctor at that time. So on examination, the thigh wound was showing septic changes. First sample was sent for microbiological examination. It's a gram stain of the wound. So can you guess? Seeing the gram stain? Anybody? And arrow is pointing out one particular structure. Are you able to see the smear? I mean stain?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So can you guess what it
Sport.
is? Yeah.
Clostridium
Hmm.
perfringens.
Clostridium? Clostridium? Okay, I'll show you the choice. So identify the pathogen and the structure marked. Choice A is Clostridium perfringens
Option
and
A, ma'am.
spore. Straight away, are you sure? Why not? It is B is anthracis and olation granules, and C is Corynebacterium diphtheria and olation granules. Option D is Clostridium tetani and spore. So which option? Option is A. So the structure marked as spore. So which one is the correct choice? So I'm telling the patient after 2 days have come with difficulty of breathing. He has only treated with local medicine. So what could be the shall I go shall I go ahead with the choice? May I?
Clostridium tetani, maybe.
Yeah, it's Clostridium tetani and
Tetani and spore.
structure spore. Invariably, if you can see, it is a terminal oval spore.
Spores.
It's typically tennis racket appearance. Clostridium perfringens will be it's a boxcar basilate.
Subterminal.
Subterminal, no, it will
Oval.
be mostly central and you not appreciate the spore. Okay, so it will be straight away, it will look like a basilate. Boxcar appearance is the description. So invariably spores will not be seen, subterminal or central spores will be there. So here you can see terminal spore and difficulty of breathing because the patient had not had any vaccine or anything. So he is going in for respiratory difficulty. His respiratory muscles are affected. Is that clear? He is progressing actually. His clinical condition is very much progressing. So that is why he is having this difficulty. And the Gram-Stein picture clearly shows the terminal oval spores, which is a drumstick appearance, which typically describes as a drumstick appearance of Clostridium tetani. Perfringens means you can see only the gangrenous formation of the wound, and there will be crepitus of the creps will be when you feel it, you can feel the creps of the wound area, gas gangrene formation. And typically, it is a tetanus, a case of tetanus. Okay, rigidity. So the choice is Clostridium tetani and spores the correct answer. Okay. So question 8. Spores are resistant to heat because of the presence of which chemical component? Uramic acid, teichoic acid, diP-colonic acid, lipid content. Which is the choice? Choice? Hello. Which is the correct answer? Yeah, actually choice C is the answer. Dipicolonic acid. So it makes the bacteria resistant. The spores are made of this chemical component which makes it heat resistant so that they can survive the any adverse temperature condition, and then once the temperature is conducive or environment is conducive, they germinate all the spore forming bacteria. Can anybody give me example of spore forming bacteria other than that? Any other spore formers? Hello? Are you able to hear me? Can anyone answer?
Bacteria.
bacillus species, and aerobic spore formers and anaerobic spore formers. Aerobic spore formers are all bacillus species. Anthrax bacilli, Bacillus cereus, then other bacillus are all involved. Okay, and then or aerobic spore forming bacilli. And anaerobic bacilli are Clostridium species, Clostridium perfringens, Clostridium tetani, and then which causes the antibiotic in Clostridium difficile. So all these things are spore forming bacteria, examples of spore forming bacteria. Okay, so here is your next question. Here a patient with history of high fever for the past 1 week and jaundice, since 2 days visitors outpatient department. His liver function test was showing elevated enzyme and kidney profile also elevated urea and creatinine. Peripheral blood sample and urine sample was taken and special staining was done. So you have to identify the organism and microscopic method used. So can you see the smear? Are you able to see the smear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the question is, the choices are Borrelia burgdorferi and Gomeris methanomen silverstein. Second option is Leptospira species and Fontana stain. Third, Leptospira species and Darkfield microscopy. Fourth is Leptospira species and Gomeris methanamine silverstein. So which is the correct option?
Option D.
Leptospira and Gomori methanamine.
First, last
Option D, ma'am.
Option D.
Option D.
Option D. Okay, so Gomeris methanamine silverstein, where it will be used frequently? So your choice is, you are telling that. Okay. So Leptospira, you can appreciate here, nicely spiral bacteria. It's a spirochete, you can appreciate. And at the end of the, it is all hook shaped, like they are all, the end is umbrella like. So that choice is correct. But then the staining technique, usually Gomeris methanamine silverstein is mainly for histopathological examination. Most often they go for histopathological stains. Like only tissue sections, they'll stain with Gomeris methanamine silver, if I'm right. So the most common stain which is used for spirochetes are Fontana stain and silver impregnation method. So that is the most common stain which is used. So here the option is B, Leptospira species and Fontana stain. So this is how the Fontana stain will appear. You can see dark brown against yellow brown background. Almost Gomeris methanamine also will be look like this, but it is only for tissue sections. So here they have used in the peripheral blood sample and urine specimens were taken. They are centrifuge and it is done. So owing to the clinical picture, it is leptospirosis because it is hepatorenal changes are there. Typically the microscopic picture points towards leptospira. Borrelia burgdorferi is ruled out because this is not the clinical scenario. Okay, so the answer is Leptospira species and Fontana's stain. Okay, so shall I go to the next question?
Yes.
Okay, here the question is, a 45-year-old man is slowly developing a chronic separative cervicofacial lesion. You can see here a cervicofacial lesion. Which of the following is the presumptive etiology and diagnosis based on Gram-Stein picture? So you can see a Gram-Stein picture here from the sample collected, and this is the clinical picture. So what is the condition here? Can anybody tell? Cervicofacial lesion, you can see the sinus formation. So what is the clinical condition the patient is suffering from? You can't guess? Okay, so this is the Gram-Stein morphology. Can anybody describe this Gram-Stein? How it looks like? Okay, I'll go to the choice, options. So question 10 options, 4 options are Aspergillus flavus, Nocardia brasiliensis, Actinomycetes israeli, Corynebacterium diphtheriae. So these are the 4 choice I have given. So if you understand the clinical condition, then you can answer. I am hearing so much of background noise.
Actinomyces israeli.
Why do you say? How did you come to that? So what is that condition? It is actinomycosis. It is actinomycosis or mycetome of the face actually. Okay. So yes, your answer is correct. It is their actinomycetes, or why not? I am telling it is nocardia. Can this be nocardia as well? Can it be nocardia? So how to confirm it is not nocardia? What is the next step you go? So here you can see gram-positive bacilli. Both nocardia and actinomycetes are gram-positive filamentous bacteria. Okay. So how to differentiate? But here it is typically face that actinomycosis. The choice is only Actinomycetes israeli. That is the choice. But nocardia, how to rule out? It can also cause actinomycosis. So what will be the next step? Okay, we'll go to the next question. So Aspergillus flavus is ruled out. Why it is not Aspergillus flavus? Because it is a fungi and it will be a little bit broad. They are also filamentous organism, but it will be very little bit broad than this filamentous structures. And then it can't be Corynebacterium diphtheria also, because it is V forms and L forms. They are also gram-positive bacilli, but then they are V forms or L forms, and you can see metachromatic granule. So the options are only nocardia or actinomycetes, but typically here it is mainly based on the clinical condition, it is actinomycetes. So it is a presumptive etiology, it can be. So we'll go to the next question. What are the difference between actinomycetes and nocardia? Can anybody tell? Have you come prepared or shall I tell? Are you able to hear?
Able to hear, madam?
Okay. I was sort of.
No, madam. Yeah. I had actually switched off my mic. Okay, you're able to hear.
Okay. So it is actinomycetes. Can anybody tell? Actually, nocardia both are gram-positive filamentous bacilli, but actinomycetes is anaerobic and nocardia is aerobic. And actinomycetes is not acid fast, but nocardia is acid fast. So those are the main difference you can make out. Okay, so next question 11 is again a case-based question. Here also it is a 75-year-old lady is slowly developing a chronic same type of condition, which is thought to be actinomycosis. Which of the following is most likely to promote the progress of this infection? Which will actually progress the infection? Choice A, high level of oxygen in tissue. B, presence of foreign body at the site of the infection. C, production of exotoxin A by Israeli and production of leukocidin. And last one is production of phyline. So which could be the option?
Ma'am, maybe
A. Choice A, you are telling. It's high level of oxygen, which means it is
Aerobic,
not
but
anaerobic.
anaerobic. Yeah, ma'am.
I have told you that actinomycetes is an anaerobe, right? So high levels of oxygen will kill the bacteria. So it will not. It will alter the progress of the infection. It will not promote. So that is ruled out. So then choice other choice
Option D.
option
D.
D. Okay. So actinomycetes israeli, the virulence factor, it doesn't produce any of the toxin, neither exotoxin, leukocidin, or any other toxins. So here the choice is presence of foreign body at the site of infection, because that can create an anaerobic situation. It will bring out any oxidation reduction potential. Therefore, it favors the anaerobic condition and that promotes the progress of this infections. The explanation. So actually, Israeli actinomyces is an opportunistic microorganism that does not produce any known virulence, but then it has the ability of the organism to survive the host inflammatory response. So mainly devitalized tissue, presence of foreign bodies, broken mucous membrane, immunosuppression, all these things can promote the development of actinomycosis. So, as I have told you, it is an anaerobic organism. So, high level of oxygen will kill the microbe and it does not produce any of these things, leukocidin, exotoxin, or phyline. So, these are not the causative, pathogenic mechanism of this organism. So, here choice B is the correct one. Okay. So I'll go to the next question. A 36-year-old female patient presented to ED, which is emergency department, with complaints of fever, hemoptysis, left-sided chest pain, and dyspnea for the past 7 days. And the patient has history of DM, that is diabetic mellitus, diabetes mellitus. So on chest examination, breath sounds were decreased in the left side. Significant crepitations heard. Rest of the other systems are normal. So a clinical diagnosis of community acquired pneumonia was made. Okay. After that, after the patient was stabilized, the sputum was sent for microbiological investigation. Gram stain and acid fast stain was done. So you will have to identify the pathogen. So this is the gram stain, the pink one, and the other one is the acid fast stain. So you can see the structures. Can you appreciate the gram stain picture? What are you seeing in the gram stain? Anybody? Or straight away you can go and answer. Which one is it? Is it Aspergillus flavus or Nocardia or Actinomycetes or Mycobacterium tuberculosis? Which is the correct option? Do I have to go back and give the clinical condition? So it's a community acquired pneumonia. Okay. So that is the clinical diagnosis they have made, preliminary diagnosis. So this is the gram stain and acid fast stain picture. Both were done. What is the choice? Can it be Aspergillus flavus? Anybody? I'm sorry. So the choice is, it is actually Nocardia brasiliensis. As I've told you, both Nocardia and Actinomycetes are gram positive filamentous organism. Nocardia is typically causes pulmonary nocardiosis. What you are seeing, the clinical picture here is pulmonary nocardiasis. So here I am discussing actually all the different morphological forms of bacteria. So this is pulmonary nocardia. You can see in the gram stain, gram positive, filamentous structures, and you can see these are all the pustules, the sputum picture. And here typically in the acid, the blue color one is acid fast staining technique. You can see the pink color acid fast staining of the nocardia. So actually nocardia is partially acid fast staining. Is that okay? Can you hear? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam, we can hear.
Okay, because I am not getting any response, I am wondering whether it is reaching you. So here nocardia, I will tell you why it is. Can anybody tell me why nocardia is partially acid fast? Tuberculous bacilli is acid fast. But then tuberculosis, why I am ruling out Mycobacterium tuberculosis? Because tubercle bacilli is not seen in gram stain. You cannot identify. You have to use only special staining, that is acid fast staining. And then I am ruling out Actinomycetes israeli also because Actinomycetes is not acid fast in nature. So Aspergillus flavus is a fungi. Actually, it will be the morphology itself little bit different. Though it is also a hair-like structure, it can be stained by the thing. And community-acquired pneumonia also rules out Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, so this is actually partially acid fast stain typically. Why nocardia is partially acid fast? Can anybody tell? What is the reason for acid fastness in a acid fast bacilli?
Mycolic acid.
Excellent.
Presence of mycolic acid.
Yeah, mycolic acid. Mycolic acid are what? Actually, chemically, what are they? They are actually fatty acids containing carbon atoms. Okay. So Mycobacterium tuberculosis is made of long chain fatty acids. That's mycolic acid. And nocardia is made up of intermediate or short chain mycolic acid. That carbon component in the mycolic acid makes them acid fast in nature. That is the main reason. The mycolic acid, and even in that mycolic acid, the carbon atoms. So tuberculosis contains 60 to 90 carbon atoms. That is why it is fully acid fast. But then nocardia species are contain intermediate or short chain mycolic acid. Short chain mycolic acid all contain only 40 to 60 carbon atoms. So they are partially acid fast. So here you can see full, but sometimes not all the filaments will be stained by nocardia. So that is the main difference. Why nocardia is partially acid fast? Because it is made up of intermediate or short chain mycolic acid, and the carbon atoms are only 40 to 60. But in the case of tuberculous bacilli, it is long chain fatty acid, mycolic acid. So more than around 60 to 90 carbon atoms are there. So I will go to the next question. So these are some other staining techniques, because we have seen some, questions related to scientists, contributors of microbiology. Then in morphology, you have seen different structures. Okay, and these are all the different fluorescent stain I want you to understand, which is used in microbiology. Auramine rhodamine stain, acridine orange, and chalcofluor white stain. Auramine rhodamine stain is mostly used for, it's a fluorescent stain, which is used for mostly tubercle bacilli. So you can see the tubercle bacilli. And this is acridine orange stain. It is used for identifying bacteria and parasites also. They are vital stains. So only those which contains the DNA will be taken up, will take up the acridine orange stain. So here this is, you can see the malarian parasites. You can see the marking. And chalcofluor white stain is the fluorescent stain which is used for fungus. You can see the filamentous structures of the fungus. Just to complete the stains IM and morphology, I've shown you that slide. So next question is Fimbriae are demonstrated by culture, Gram stain, biochemical reaction, and hemagglutination. Which is the choice? Can anybody tell? Fimbriae is again another structure present on the cell wall of bacteria. They are very thin structure, very thin. So can it be demonstrated? Have you seen any Fimbriae in the microbiology classes?
Hemagglutination, ma'am.
Yeah, excellent. So hemagglutination is a choice. You cannot demonstrate Fimbria by culture. You can neither demonstrate by Gram stain because they are very, very thin, and you cannot demonstrate by biochemical reaction. So only by hemagglutination, by serological technique, you can demonstrate the presence of Fimbria. Okay. And question 14 is L forms are characterized by, these are all the choice: deficient cell wall, chronic infection, resistant to penicillin, all of the above. What is the choice? Huh? Yes? Which is the choice? The choice here is D, all the above. So all the L forms are deficient of cell wall and they can cause chronic infection and they are resistant to penicillin. Why they are resistant to penicillin? Because penicillin acts on the cell wall. So all the above. So here now we will go to the physiology. So as you know how the bacteria multiply, this little bit theory I will take, then I will go for the MCQs. So bacteria, they are multiplied by, how they multiply? They multiply by binary fission. Okay, binary fission, and then one cell become two cell after one thing. Okay, this is called as number of generation or generation time. So they multiply exponentially. So after one generation, one cell become two cell, and then after two generation, two become four. So it is exponential. 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2. Likewise, it goes, as you can very well see. So this is the standard bacterial growth curve. So if you start growing a bacteria in a culture, initially for some time there will be a lag phase where there will not be any growth multiplication, but only cells will enlarge. So it will use the local nutrients and everything will enlarge and it will prepare for multiplication. And then second stage is exponential growth phase, or otherwise it is called as a log phase. Here only the cell size won't increase, but the cells start to multiply and it will multiply exponentially in a logarithmic term. Okay, log phase. So at one point of time, that multiplication, that growth phase will stop. Here growth phase means the growth mainly represents increase in number of cells, but not increase in size. So the number of cells continue to increase at one point of time and then it will stop at the stationary phase, where as you can see blue color represents live cells and then pink color dead cells. In stationary phase, most of them now it will start to die. So it will use all the nutrient from the environment and it will stop multiplying. Then that will continue for some time. So the spore formation and all will take place in the stationary phase. And then after some time there will be a decline phase or death phase where it will start to die. Only some cells will be viable. So here all the involution forms will be there. So this is typically the standard bacterial growth curve. I have seen many questions based on this growth curve. Okay. So question based on that. So after isolating a pathogen from a patient, you monitor its growth in a rich medium. So I will show you the figure next. According to the figure, the rate of growth of bacterial culture for which it was obtained reaches its maximum rate of growth between which of the following time period? So you can see the graph. The y-axis is the number of cells, x-axis is the time. You have inoculated that in the noon, and after some time you can see the curve. So the choice is, the question asked is maximum rate of growth between what period of time. So choice A is between noon and 1 p.m., between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., between 3 p.m. and 4, and then 3 to 5, 4 to 5. Which is the correct option? Can anybody tell? You can see the growth. Anyone? At one time it has, yeah, tell me.
2 to 3.
Yeah, that is it. So you can see between 2 to 3 only, you can see the logarithmic phase. So maximum growth has happened at that time only. So 2 to 3 p.m. is the correct. Noon and 1 p.m. it is lag phase. So no multiplication will be there. 2 to 3 p.m. only maximum growth. Then 3 to 4 p.m. is a stationary phase. 3 to 5 again, after stationary it has gone down to decline. And 4 to 5 it is declining phase. Okay. So question 16. Now the question is generation time of Leprobacilli. What I have told, generation time definition is how it becomes twice. Logarithmic multiplication. So if one bacilli is there, it becomes 2. So that is the generation time. So whether it is 20 hours or 20 minutes or 20 days or 20 seconds, which is the option. Leprobacilli, when it will become, one leprobacilli will become 2.
20 days, ma'am.
Excellent. So it has got a very long generation time. Leprobacilli, it's a slow growing, very, very slow growing bacilli. So 20 hours is for which bacteria? Can anybody guess? 20 days is the correct option. So actually generation time, we have got rule of 2, 20 minutes, 20 hours and 20 days. The faster multiplying 20 minutes is for most of the bacteria, like E. coli. Classically, we take the example. E. coli will have a generation time of 20 minutes. That is, one bacilli will become 2 bacilli in 20 minutes. Okay. And then 20 hours is for Mycobacterium tuberculosis. One tubercle bacilli will become 2 in 20 hours. And it is 20 days for Leprobacilli. 20 seconds is not an option. So here the choice is 20 days for Leprobacilli is the correct option. Okay. I'll go to the next question. This is little bit complicated, a problem. I don't know, I will explain. A flask is inoculated at density. So 3 into 10 to the power of 3 cells per ml has been inoculated. A bacteria is inoculated. What is the density of the cell in the culture after 15 minutes? So your answer should be, after 15 minutes, how much it has multiplied. If the generation time is 20 minutes, so the generation time given is 20 minutes, like E. coli. And then here the lag phase is 10 minutes. So your choice is 1.2 into 10 to the power of 4 cell, 1.2 into 10 to the power of 5, 1.3 10 to the power of 6, 6 into 10 to the power of 3. So initially the amount inoculated is 3 into 10 to the power of 3 cells per ml. So let me explain this. This is all based on the growth curve. So here the choice is actually 1.2 into 10 to the power of 4 cells. How we arrived at that, I can show you. So you have shown there is the question mentioned is lag phase is 10 minutes. So in total of 50 minutes, so 10 minutes, still there will be only the amount inoculated, which was inoculated the first. So 3 into 10 to the power of 3 cells were first inoculated. So because 10 minutes is the lag time, so after 10 minutes, same number of cells will be there. So remaining time will be 40 minutes. So here the generation time given is 20 minutes. So after first 20 minutes, it will double up. Okay. So 3 into 10 to the power of 3 is 6 into 10 to the power of 3. So you multiply by 2. So at the end of another 20 minutes, so which is again after 50 minutes, there will be 12 into 10 to the power of 3. So this is multiplied. This The 6 into 10 to the power of 3 is multiplied by 12. So finally, in a scientific notation, 12 into 10 to the power of 3 is 1.2 into the 10 to the power of 4 cells. So this is how we have arrived. Okay? Did you understand? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I don't know whether they will ask this question. This is typically a USMLE based question. So I have put this question is there in here, so you can understand after reading it again. So a lag time 10 minutes is gone, remaining 40 minutes. So generation time 20 minutes to double up. So first 20 minutes taken and next 20 minutes is the 40 minutes. So that I have multiplied. Is it clear? And this is just theory. That is about the growth curve in the physiology of bacteria. So other things which you remember is most of the bacteria, they are temperature sensitive. So those bacteria which grow at very low temperature, minus 20 to 5, they are called as psychrophiles, lower temperature, minimum temperature. And mesophiles are in the optimum temperature, like 15 to 45. And then thermophiles are those bacteria which grows at a very higher temperature. They are able to grow. So here I want to emphasize what effect would have a fever with our temperature when we have infection. What effect would have a fever have on mesophiles? As I have told you, mesophiles are the one which grows between 10 to 40 degree C. Okay. So most of the pathogenic bacteria like E. coli, all the human pathogens, they grow around this temperature only. So as a mechanism of defense mechanism, our body hypothalamus will be stimulated. There will be rise in body temperature. So naturally that rise in body temperature will kill all the mesophiles. So to put in the effect, to understand the temperature thing, I have put this question. Okay. So this is called as thermal death point. And this is how you classify lower temperature growing bacteria or psychrophiles, Flavobacterium example, and mesophiles typically or E. coli, most of the, not only E. coli, many of the pathogenic bacteria, and higher temperature growing bacteria are thermus groups. This is just a theory part I want to. So next part is depending upon the oxygen, that is another important physiological requirement. So you divide into obligate aerobe, microaerophilic bacteria, obligate anaerobe, facultative anaerobe, and aerotolerant anaerobe. So obligate aerobe grows only, they are only when it is aerobic. In the presence of oxygen, it doesn't grow in the absence of oxygen. Likewise, microaerophilic also is not anaerobic, but growth if level not too high, but here levels below 0.2 atmospheric temperature or carbon dioxide requirement, that is microaerophilic. Obligate anaerobes are definitely they'll die in the presence of air and they are anaerobic environment, it will glow. Oxygen will have a toxic effect. And then facultative anaerobe, they can grow both in aerobic and anaerobic. Oxygen is not required, but then if it is available, they will utilize it. And aerotolerant anaerobes also grow in aerobic and anaerobic condition. They are not required. Oxygen is not required and they are not also utilized. So I can show you a figure. So this is the test tube. You can see the black color of the growth of the organism. So in first tube, you can see the growth of bacteria on the top of the liquid. So which means that it is
Aerobic.
excellent aerobic bacteria. And then here in the second tube, you can see the growth only in the bottom of the tube. So which is
Anaerobic.
they are obligatory anaerobic. First one is obligatory aerobic. And then the third tube you can see throughout the tube, but
Facultative.
yeah, excellent. It's facultative anaerobic. And fourth tube, top, but just below the film. So it's
Microaerophilic.
micro aerophilic. And last tube, equal equivalently it has grown throughout the tube. So they are aero tolerant. They are aero tolerant anaerobic. Okay. So A is obligate aerobe, B is obligate anaerobe, C is facultative anaerobe, D is microaerophilic bacteria, and last one is aerotolerant. So this is based on the oxygen requirement. So question 18. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you identify what it is by this one only?
Antibiotic
Ah,
resist.
no. What is the staining technique used and which part is demonstrated? So cell wall and the stain uses Gomeris methenamine, and the part demonstrated. Second option is capsule with India. Yeah. Third one is spore demonstrated with Gomeris methenamine, and fourth one capsule with Gomeris methenamine. So which one is this?
Capsule and Indian ink stain.
Yeah, excellent. Capsule and India in stain. You can see that is actually what organism can you identify? Is it
Can
bacteria or fungus?
fungi.
Fungi. What fungi it is? Streptococcus neoformans. Which bacteria contains capsule? So actually India ink is used for demonstrating capsule. What are the examples of capsulated bacteria? Can anybody tell at least one?
Pneumococcus.
Excellent. Pneumococcus, Klebsiella pneumoniae. All these things have capsule. So it is a defense mechanism for that which can evade capsules. They can evade phagocytosis. Okay. So that is the option. Question 20, prokaryotes. Now it is all mostly straightforward question, like you can see. Prokaryotes contain endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus without nucleolus, sterols, 50S ribosome. Which is the option? It is prokaryotes. So the choice is nucleus without nucleolus. Endoplasmic reticulum, sterols, they are all present in eukaryotes. Okay, higher form of bacteria. So what are the methods used to demonstrate motility? Except these are the following motility of bacteria: by hanging drop method, by Craig's tube method, U-tube method, Phil's technique, fluorescent microscopy. Which is the one which is not used in these options?
Fine.
Not hanging drop is the one which you have done in your laboratory as well.
Sleep technique. Sleep.
Phil's
Option
technique.
D.
Option
D.
D or E? So
D.
you are going to see the live bacteria, isn't it? Fluorescent microscopy you can't see because stains will be used. So that will kill. So naturally you won't see. So what is the microscopic method used to demonstrate motility? Can anybody tell? Most common method.
Hanging drop.
Hanging.
Hanging drop is in the laboratory. Microscope. Special microscope. Hanging drop, what bacteria you will demonstrate what motility? Usually you demonstrate darting motility of Vibrio cholera. So the most other common microscope which we use are dark field microscopy. Okay. So you all have to learn the principle of all these microscopic technique. I have not put forward those questions because I did not have time. So dark field microscopy, if it is given, that is right choice. So commonly in the laboratory we used to see dark field microscopy under dark field leptospira, then Vibrio cholera, all these things we can use dark field as well. Okay. So and different types of motility also, like those all those things you will have to memorize, like darting motility for Vibrio cholera, tumbling motility for Listeria. All these things you would have learned in your undergraduate. Huh? Next question 21. One of the following method is an example of negative stain. Yes. Which is a negative stain? Gram-Stein, Fontana, India Ink, Zeal, Nielsen. Which is the one?
Ink.
India Ink. Option 3 is correct. So that is
Yeah.
the. What other negative stain you know apart from India Ink? There is one other negative stain also. It's nigrosin stain. So they can ask questions with that. Name the negative stains, that also you have to remember. And then dark brown microscopy is used to see cell wall, capsule, flagella, fimbriae. Which is the option?
Fimbriae.
Huh? Dark brown microscopy for motility. Which organ is for motility?
Flagellum.
Yes. So the option is C. So it demonstrates the flagella. Okay. Bacteria with of flagella at one end. Typically at one end are called. So arrangement of flagella also you would have learned in your UG. Tuft of flagella at one end, at both ends. One flagella at one end, monotrichous. And then all.
Monotrichous.
So this is tuft of flagella at one end. Monotrichous means one end, one flagella will be there. Here tuft of flagella at one end is lophotrichous. Peritrichous is flagella all around. Amphitrichous is again both ends. Tuft of flagella at both ends. Tuft of flagella at one end is lophotrichous. Tuft of flagella at both ends is amphitrichous. Flagella all around the body is peritrichous. Monotrichous, as it says, only one flagella, typically Vibrio cholera. Okay. And then lipopolysaccharide of gram-negative bacteria is characteristic of what? Is it an exotoxin or endotoxin or both or none?
Endotoxin.
Yes, excellent. So it is the important outer component of a gram-negative cell wall. So which is an important virulence factor for gram-negative bacteria. So all are capsulated bacteria except Strep pneumoniae, Klebsiella pneumoniae, Vibrio cholera, Haemophilus influenza. Yeah, Vibrio cholera is not capsulated. All the others are capsulated bacteria. But then when virulence increase, some of them acquire also. But that are all not for this study. Sometimes they also get. Then question 27, difference between gram-positive and gram-negative organism is that gram-negative do not contain one of the components. Picoic acid, muramic acid, N-acetyl glucosamine, aromatic amino acids. Now, teichoic acid will be there in both, but gram-positive will have more teichoic acid. Gram-negative will have less teichoic acid. Uramic N-acetyl, both will have, both gram-positive and gram-negative. These aromatic amino acids will be present only in gram-positive bacteria. Okay. Question 28. Which of the following is an obligate aerobe? You have seen. So which is an obligate aerobe which grows only in the presence of air? A is Vibrio cholera, B H. pylori, C Escherichia coli, B Bacteroides fragilis. Which one is obligate aerobe? Which means it grows only in the presence of air, in atmospheric air. Otherwise it will die. So the option Vibrio cholera. Is yeah, Vibrio cholera. H. pylori is microaerophilic. Carbon dioxide requirement is there. Escherichia coli is facultative anaerobe. Bacteroides fragilis is obligatory anaerobe. Bacteroides fragilis is it's an anaerobe, non-spore forming anaerobe, and it's an obligatory anaerobe. Okay. All are true of cell wall deficient bacteria. So example of cell wall deficient, can anybody tell? Which bacteria are without cell wall? So these are the options. It can pass through bacterial filters, have no definitive shape, play a role in persistence of chronic infection. They are sensitive to beta-lactam antibiotics. So which one is not correct?
D, ma'am. They were resistant.
Huh? B or D?
Option D, ma'am. They were
Yeah,
sensitive to lactam
because
antibiotics is wrong.
beta-lactam acts on the cell wall. So cell wall deficient bacteria, obviously it cannot go and act. So all the others are correct. Intracytoplasmic inclusions may be all except collagen granules, polysaccharides, lipids, proteins. They
Bulletin
are
granule.
intracytoplasmic. Here the question is all except.
Polysaccharide.
Polysaccharides also can be intracytoplasmic inclusion. Lipids also. Only proteins cannot be seen as an inclusion bodies. Okay. So Fimbriae can be demonstrated by all except Fimbriae or Pili. Almost all are same. So electron microscope, I have told you Pili or Fimbriae are very, very thin. So can it be shown? It can be shown by all except following: A, electron microscope; B, hemagglutination; C, pellicle formation; D, phase contrast microscope. So these are all the chapters which are all in the first two, like morphology, physiology. So Fimbriae cannot be demonstrated by phase contrast. So you'll have to go for demonstrate by electron microscope or by hemagglutination. This was the question which I put already. And a pellicle formation in liquid media. So these forms pellicle. Okay, a thin layer formed on the top of the liquid media. So you cannot demonstrate by phase contrast. Okay, next question. All are alterations in bacterial cell morphology during stationary phase. We have seen in the growth curve, no, the third phase, it will be flat, the stationary phase. So all these things are seen except the bacteria can be gram variable at that stage. Spore formation will be there. They produce secondary metabolite products and involution forms are seen. So if you go and read the growth curve and what are the important aspects of growth curve, you will understand. So in the lag phase, the cells will multiply and it will, cell will increase in size and it will accumulate, use all the nutrients. And the log phase, they will multiply continuously in exponential and it will be very nicely gram stained nicely. And in stationary phase, they will be gram variable because all the nutrients will be gone. Spore formation will be there and they produce secondary metabolites. And in the decline phase only, there will be involution forms. So D is the answer. All are alterations in bacterial cell morphology during stationary phase except involution forms. Okay. 32. Which substance in the outer membrane of gram-negative bacteria is a potent endotoxin that is released when a bacteria die? That you can answer. Peptidoglycan, lipid A component of lipopolysaccharide, lipoproteins, and antigenic polysaccharides. Which is the answer? Which is endotoxin actually?
Option B.
Like
Lipid A component of lipopolysaccharide. Yeah, that is answer. Okay. Yeah. 33. Endospores of Bacillus subtilis are characteristic. Bacillus is a spore-forming bacilli. By all the following except lack of metabolic activity, high calcium content, lack of dipicolinic acid, greater resistance. So spores will have all the characteristics except. What are spores made of? Most important chemical component I have told you.
Dipicolone.
Dipicolonic acid,
Dipicolone.
isn't it? So it says lack of dipicolonic acid. So that is the answer. So they don't have any metabolic activity. Their calcium content will be high and they are highly resistant. So they have colonic acid. Okay. So which of the following is a feature of gram-positive bacteria rather than gram-negative? So this again same twisted. Lipid A is a feature of gram-negative. Lipoprotein,
Gram negative.
yeah, lipoprotein in periplasmic space. Outer membrane, thick peptidoglycan wall. So which is the, you have learned that in your gram staining exercise, your undergraduates. So it is actually thick peptidoglycan wall.
Thick peptide. Yes.
Uh, OMP protein, that is lipid A, perisplasmics, everything will be seen in gram-negative bacteria. So, but gram-negative will have thin peptidoglycan and gram-positive will have thick peptidoglycan. Okay. So 35. The rationale for giving prophylactic antibiotics at the beginning of a surgical procedure can be thought of as an attempt to prevent the bacteria from entering which of the following growth phases. So before any surgery, they used to give prophylactic antibiotic, isn't it? So what is the funda behind that? So how do you see at which point of the growth phase the bacteria will be arrested? Will stop the bacteria.
Log.
From lag
Yeah,
phase.
lag phase. Lag
Log
phase, it
phase.
will not multiply. Yeah, log phase is the blood. So because that is the phase it exponentially multiplies, isn't it? So the growth curve log phase will be stopped by giving prophylactic antibiotics. Okay. So pneumococcal capsule tend to be largest during which phase? Lag phase, exponential phase, or otherwise it is log phase, stationary phase, and phase of decline. So capsule formation also will be more during the exponential or otherwise log phase. Okay. Stationary phase and phase of this is more virulent thing, so it happens only during the exponential phase. So that's all about the questions. Was that useful?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that too much or was it very less or very preliminary? I would like to have the feedback so that accordingly I can prepare your next classes. Dr. Umesh?
Yes, madam.
This is Dr. Hasangde.
Hello? Yes?
Yeah, that was good, madam.
Oh, was that useful? Thank you.
Now the students, please answer. What is your expectation?
Yeah, I want the feedback because accordingly I can change my class presentation. Like you want more of case-based or less of case-based question, straightforward question. Shall we go this way only? Because you will,
I think so. They are expecting a bit of a theory to be
okay.
added along with the
Okay.
questions, so
Yes,
that
ma'am.
Okay.
because by the time they reach the third and fourth year, they would
Ah,
have forgotten microbiology.
okay.
So most students now they hardly anything will be there in them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think so. They need a lot of revision.
Okay.
They will not give the answer. That's the reason I could think. I think so.
Yeah. I thought that you told you will give them the topic so that I thought
Yeah.
they'll come prepared so
Yeah,
that
madam. That's what we'll do. For the next class, you give us the topic in advance so that the students also should prepare and come. And with this cycle will go on for all subjects.
okay. That is the basic. They can go through their Panikar and come, so which will be easy for them to follow. But then
Yes, madam.
higher questions I can explain sort of. So I have
Yes,
given,
madam.
I have already given the schedule to you, so that you can send it
Yes,
across to
madam.
them. Hmm?
Yes, madam.
So, is there anything you want me to explain in these topics? You can let me know so that I can come out with that.